Okay, we're at the PlayStation Digital Showcase in London, and this is very much a tale of two Mikaels and Michael. Yeah. So we're here, we're looking at a variety of games, but the game we're here to talk about right now is Alienation from Housemarque.
Is it?
It is.
All right.
It is. I got a load of questions, but I'm going to open with something that was actually said during the presentation, and it was described as per feedback from fans as Diablo with guns. Now, I can see some similarities, and I'm going to ask you to kind of use that as a framing device to kind of explain a little bit about the game and what players can expect.
So, it's funny because I came up with that line, Diablo with guns, a couple months back, and I was careful with it first because I don't want to compare myself to Blizzard, even accidentally. Blizzard's, they're a god among developers. So this got some similarities in it. First of all, there's a fairly intricate loot system on a Housemarque level compared to Blizzard. It's in its child's shoes, but so there's a bit more of that kind of looting and collecting and all that stuff. And one of the key points that is different is that it's all about shooting for us. So it's all about that gunplay, dodging, sidestepping, running away, doing all the tactical stuff. So Detonation, of course, is kind of one of our strongest reference points. We don't want to say this is a sequel, but it has a lot of similarities that fans will notice. But it's a whole different game, and it's got aliens.
It's got a lot of aliens, and a lot of really big explosions. Now, there's a lot of tech. Kind of, it looks deceptively simple, but there's quite clearly a lot of kind of complicated tech.
It's one of those things that it's going to wow you, and it's funny because when you do things well, the viewer shouldn't be able to distinguish it really. So there's a lot of baked in things like weather effects that like the actual snow will go around objects, and there's different levels of snow and wind speed, and so physics. Like you can shoot through smoke and you can see the bullet kind of sway the smoke off to the sides. So that's kind of the sugar on top, the little extra taste. But other than that, it's a strong. I mean, it's Housemarque game, so it's really gameplay centric. We do have story in there, but visually it should be. Hopefully, I'd say people enjoy it on top par of kind of the top-down genre.
I mean, just kind of sticking on the visual theme, I mean, linking those eye-popping visuals to the different weapons, that must be part of the most enjoyable elements of making a game like this.
You wouldn't even know, because from a developer's perspective, it's we've been working on this forever and such a process. But even in the last just a week or two, we have one guy who's doing amazing particle effects. So those really just kind of cool, starry, kind of glittery type of things, to basically anything in the cool visual department, and they've been adding those in at a speed now that's insane. So for us, it's gone from this is cool to what the hell did I just see? The whole screen just going all animated and weird neon colors. So even we're getting surprised, and that's usually hopefully a good sign. But the visuals are, we're getting sold on that, so hopefully the audience is too.
Okay, going back to the Diablo thing, when you say compare a game to Diablo, for me, that evokes something very specific about the kind of the depth of the leveling system and the kind of the customization. Now, I want you to talk about that for a bit, if you don't mind.
I'll come clear. I've beaten Diablo 3. Well, I played it a bunch on PC, but I didn't beat it until it was on PS4. And, we've been playing it a bunch. And I've, the previous installments too, since I've been, a wee lad. But they put that down to an art form. That is a developer masterpiece. So I don't want to put myself or the company in the same category, but we've taken a lot of lessons from them. And see, that's the thing that Housemarque does usually exceptionally, is we put a twist on existing ideas. So we do have a loot system and weapon upgrade systems. It's a bit kind of a mix between the Diablo gem system and something from Final Fantasy VII with the materia system. So you can kind of combine, and there are certain slots that are kind of connected to each other. So that's kind of cool. You can dismantle weapons. You can get different rarities of weapons and special perks in the weapons. So that's something that's very new to us. So that's probably the strongest addition to the top-down. The gameplay, of course, as it does play differently, that brings a whole other twist of systems within that. So, as you play Diablo, there's usually, if you have a strong character, you can pretty much run through stuff. Here, if you have a strong character, you got to run away still. So there's that. It's sort of a more arcadey rather than RPG approach.
Okay. We played for a while as the Saboteur class, and there was we were playing alongside a tank in a co-op and helping each other out. He was probably helping me more than the other way around. But can you talk us through the different classes and kind of how they vary and how that changes up the gameplay experience and kind of moment to moment?
So that's something we've been messing around with quite a bit. So basically, tank is a tank, a bit stronger, a bit more of this kind of defensive. Everybody has a group ability, so the single group ability for the tank is a shield, so you kind of get these defense buffs, and then Saboteur is sort of the stealthy, sneaky, faster character, and the bioengineer is sort of, he's got the poison cloud, and he's got a bit of this, I'd say not like a healer class, but sort of an in-betweener with sort of these range effects there. So everybody's got active abilities and passive abilities. We got these trees in there that you can kind of pick and choose if you want more range or more effect. It's not like a endless updating system, but it's got a pretty good core mechanic that can still be extended into quite a long end game. So it's a base system that we felt that is necessary, but we also need it to be really balanced. Because if you have like one class that's way OP, then nobody wants to pick anything else. So we were really fine-tuning that, and still are to some extent.
And I suppose looking ahead, that's something maybe you could elaborate on. You could add different classes and spice things up further down the line.
I'll tell that to anybody who's still working on current or future content. I don't know. Nothing's been announced yet, so let's put that in a notebook.
Okay. On something else that could be potentially expanded. Unless I'm mistaken, there's 5 kind of sandbox maps where procedurally generated levels kind of play out.
Do ask the question, but I can maybe elaborate on that a little bit. So there are sandbox levels where there's dynamic procedurally generated enemy placement and boss fights, with each boss having a mixture of kind of these randomized powers and abilities. So these are the generated elements within the basic sandbox levels. Then there's elements. Well, there's fully generated levels with modular level design. So these are the basic maps that are kind of rigid, and then stuff inside kind of tends to pop up how it does. And then when you get to the end of the game or towards that section of it, these different types of levels come up that are just all fresh. Everything you see is it's a bit familiar, but the whole layout, everything changes every time you play it. So that's kind of, we have a mixture of both.
Okay, that must be kind of creating good procedural generated content. That must be quite a challenge.
So there's this, shout out to Jere, our coding magician back home. This guy made a lot of cool stuff for Resogun, actually. He's been working with us for eons, decades. And he actually came up with this algorithm that really works for us. So it takes into consideration what are the components that we need, what kind of paths do we need in a modular level setup. Of course, that does need a lot of level design additionally, but it's sort of it's a new thing for us too. We've been playing. I love kind of procedurally generated games, but we haven't done that before really. So let's see how it works out.
It seems to me that everything you're doing here, you're building for something that has real long-term appeal, something that can be built on, something can be expanded on, but something that already within itself has a lot of replay value. I guess that's a fair thing to say, but can you comment on that?
Well, things are changing. People are looking for longevity, replayability, social elements. So the way we see it is that we usually like sticking to some core formulas and then elaborating on that. Of course, this is by far the biggest game that we've ever done, so it is a challenge, but still one of those things that we needed to do and we wanted to do. So, of course, we're taking into consideration the times are changing, and we need to, like, everybody's just chatting to each other now in games. So these kind of change the way we start designing games. So if we did Alienation, 5 years ago when we had Dead Nation, or even before that, it would be a totally different game. But now with the current stuff that's kind of coming out, and we're looking into it from other games, hopefully it stands strong, and hopefully it has a long life. And well, gladly we have put a lot of effort into making it that, at least. So it should have a long life.
Okay, so can we finish by kind of telling us where you are, kind of what's left to do, and when people are actually going to be able to get their grubby mitts on the game?
So currently it's late March. I think there's going to be the exact date is going to be finalized within a day or two. There might be like a week or so change, but it's right smack at the late March. And us at the office, we've been kind of just going to work on Sundays sometimes now, and ordering some food and chilling, but still working, and it's been fun. So we take it kind of seriously, but still with that, Nordic kind of like, we got it. So it's not like we've been sweating bullets or anything, but we've been shooting a lot of them. Let's just say that.
Okay, well, we look forward to playing a finished thing, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.